Many of us are aware of what we eat, but a lot of us really don't think about how we eat. So we invited two insiders to share ways to improve our relationship with food. Take a look.
Mindfulness is focusing on the here and now. So often we're worrying about the future. What if? I tell my parents, you're not allowed to say what if in this office, because that can take you down so many different paths. It leads to depression and anxiety. So it's really focusing on, what's going on at the moment. And sometimes even if right now we're going through a situation that's difficult, then okay, I bring it even down to what's going on right now. And it's focusing on that. It's focusing on where you're at, what you're doing to kind of help calm some of that anxiety.
All right, now let's take that word and include mindful eating. We have a graphic and I'm gonna have Lucette tackle this one. And this is mindful eating. Go ahead.
Yes, so part of being mindful, like Nicole just explained, is being mindful when you're eating. So this is using the graphic, what mindful eating is about. We see the first at the top, why do we eat? So before you eat, asking yourself, why am I eating right now? Am I truly hungry? Then we see, when do you eat? So when are typical times that you eat? Then we see, what do I eat? Are you choosing healthy foods? Are you choosing maybe high calorie foods? So what are you eating? Then we also see, how do I eat? So that goes with the context of, are you distracted? Are you on your phone as you're eating? How are you eating? And then how much food do I eat? And then lastly, where do I eat? So what are your environments? And also how am I investing my energy? So am I feeling guilty? We talked about that. So part of the mindfulness eating cycle includes asking yourself all those questions. So sometimes we just think of one question of, what am I going to eat? But it involves a lot more questions than that.
And when you do all those questions, the why, when, what, how much, where, what is the purpose of doing something like that?
It's to bring you back to the moment of, why are we eating? Basically, it's the first question. So many times we're putting food and calories into our mouth through beverages or foods or snacks without realizing it. So mindfulness in the present moment helps you truly enjoy your food and control portion sizes. And then in the long term, mindfulness has been shown to help with managing your weight. Because if we're present, like Nicole just explained, during the eating moments, you are truly thinking and savoring your food. You can help control your portions. And you can also think of foods in a non-guilty way if you also learn how to enjoy those portions.
Great stuff. All right, so part of mindfulness is bridging a mind and body connection that can help you focus on the here and the now. Here's an explanation from a doctor. Take a look.
Mindfulness is a buzzword these days, but what does it really mean?
At its core, there are two big components. The first one is putting our attention in the moment where we want it to be.
Dr. Richa Sood says to pay attention to the here and now. That way your mind won't wander or focus on the negative.
But sometimes the present moment may be dull, it may be painful, so attention alone doesn't cut it. We also need to be looking at the moment in a non-judgmental fashion.
What does that mean?
When we get a thought or an experience, we immediately have a response to it. Good, bad, not so good, I don't care, I'm scared. We just want to be safe.
Dr. Sood says before you respond, pause.
Mindfulness is attention, focus, and delayed judgment, which decreases emotional reactivity.
Mindfulness may reduce stress and improve quality of life.
I think one important aspect is being mindful of when we are full, and a lot of people lose sight of that. We have a great, it's called the Hunger Fullness Scale. I think this really helps. Explain to our viewers, Lucette, 1 through 10, what this means.
Sure, so part of being mindful is being aware of your hunger and your fullness. So the only true reason we should be sitting to eat a meal or snack is depending on our hunger. So how can you assess your hunger? We notice that adults have almost desensitized themselves to their hunger cues. So the hunger scale, starting at a 1, we see the starving, feeling faint feelings. And then at a 10, we see bursting, painfully full. I like to say maybe Thanksgiving Day feeling. So there's these numbers in between. So as you go through the scale, you can assess what your hunger truly is and also assess when you should start to feel satisfied to stop eating. So if you look at number 3, that's usually the number we want to start eating.
Okay.
So believe it or not, a little growl doesn't mean we're starving. Now, the issue I see is that when people feel the growl, that's when they start to think, what should I go eat? And by the time you actually eat, you're at a 1 or a 2. So it's being ready to eat when you're at a 3, and then stopping when you're actually at a 6, which is the word satisfied, not necessarily a 7, which is full.
Okay, so 6 is our number.
Yes.
Okay, and I've heard that it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to tell your stomach that you're full. So if you eat slower, it's actually better, right?
Right.
That kind of helps a little bit.
Yes.
All right, just want to show our viewers real quick our phone number again, just like James did. If you'd like to give us a phone call here at the Health Channel, 855-796-4475. Now, where does hangry fit into this hunger fullness scale? We're starting to hear that hangry. I'm hangry. Have you heard this before? Have you?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our viewers what it is?
It's when you're so hungry that you're angry.
That's all I get.
know some people like that.
Oh, I get like that. I cannot skip a meal. I mean, I eat like 7 times a day because I eat little bits all through days. If I do not eat, I get hangry. Okay. How does that fit in? You shouldn't get there, right?
I think you should definitely not get there. Like Lucette was saying, if you're eating at the, which one is it? The number 3, then yeah, you're not hangry. You're not, because like she said, at that point, now you're gonna eat whatever. I know for me personally, when I'm sitting and if I meal plan, because I don't always do it, I plan out my meals. I know it's easier to eat healthy because I have this planned out beforehand. But when I'm at work and I'm Uber eating and I only have an hour to eat and I'm hurrying up scrolling through the choices, I'm just going to quick, okay, what's the fastest thing that can get here? And then that tends not to be the healthiest of choice. So it's, trying not to get to those points, especially not hangry, because then you're just going to eat anything.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's horrible. So I also know there are comfort foods for some people when they're anxious or stressed out. And it seems like people also when they're depressed, they seem to go to those comfort foods, right, Lucette?
Right. So a comfort food is generally a food that brings you back to, we talked about like that relation with like family or a certain memory, but the actual food itself usually is a high calorie food. So it's something that is high in fat, high in sugar or carbs.
I've noticed it's usually the chocolate cake, a bag of gummy bears. Why can't it be 10 apples or a bag of grapes? Why is it always like the sweets?
Well, I think sweets does activate the reward system in your brain. So you are, for that, that momentary time, you are getting a reward. And like Lucette said, a lot of this is also tied to memory. Those Thanksgiving meals with family that, you're having the pie, you're having the rice and beans, you're having the pork. If you're a Cuban family, it's not turkey, it's still pork. That's tied, if it's a good memory, then those foods now are tied to that. So when we're feeling sad, when we're feeling lonely, we want those foods because it reminds us of our family and that, that better time that we had. So it's a mix between that, yes, it does give you momentary pleasure, but then it also ties to the memory aspect of it. Well.
But once in a while, it's good to have one of those memories that I'll say, oh, my abuela used to do this for me, and then it brings back a memory. Those are okay moments, right?
Right. So when it comes to comfort foods, you can either learn to be mindful during that moment if it is something that's high in fat, carbs, and sugar, because it could be, like we just talked, it could be something salty or it could be something sweet. Or if it's a food you definitely want to enjoy more often because it reminds you of your abuela or your family, I'd suggest to find some healthier recipes, some light versions, and now you can modify your traditional your traditional comfort food for a lighter version that you can maybe enjoy more often.
By the way, if you're like me and you want to remember your abuela and her arroz con pollo, vaca frita, but the recipe's a little bit too fattening, Lucette suggests just looking for a healthier recipe, modify it, and remember the good times. By the way, just to give you a head start on something really healthy, here's a recipe for 3-bean chili.